mission of excellence with exacting values in design and engineering.
Sony has sold over 500 million PlayStation systems in their entire history, and to celebrate that, they've released this super limited, super beautiful PS4 Pro. I actually want to talk about the packaging with it, because that's something that I think really shows how much care Sony put into this design, and that a lot of the limited edition PS4s they've made, they all use the same kind of stock packaging. Not this time. Now once this box is opened, it's divided pretty cleanly into different components. You can see the system right away wrapped up in a nice little cloth wrapping, and next to that is where we have the DualShock 4 controller, the PlayStation Eye camera, and various boxes that hold all the little extra bits like cables and instruction manuals. And buried beneath all of that is the stand for the PS4. Special and different about this bundle aside from just the fact that it has different packaging. First off, this is one of the few limited edition bundles that actually includes a PlayStation Eye camera. Normally you don't get one of those. The main reason I think is because since this is such a special, super limited kind of thing, they wanted to make sure that people would have a full setup in matching colors. And so while not a lot of games still use the PlayStation Eye camera specifically, it is a required component of PSVR, which Sony is still pushing. So if you're using that system, you need the camera to go along with it. This is also currently the only PlayStation out right now with a 2TB hard drive.
Sony, no baloney.
So far, all PlayStation 4s have been either 1TB, or with the older ones you get 500GB. They have not really experimented with anything larger. This is the only model right now that at least stock comes with 2TB. Now, all that stuff is fine and cool, but obviously the really big selling point here is the design, the color, just the unique look of this system. This is currently the only transparent designed PS4, and more importantly, it's just a really interesting use of it, because it's not like a regular clear shell. You've seen some of the designs like that they've done with controllers like the Crystal series, but those are all usually brighter colors. This is a very deep dark blue that almost has a solid appearance when you're looking at it from far away, but once you have the right light on it or you get closer, you can start to see all the little mechanical bits inside of the system, which is a really cool detail. This also extends to the controller that comes with it, which, like I said before, there are the Crystal series DualShock 4s, which this is very similar to at first glance, but once again, it is a much darker, slightly less transparent blue than the other crystal blue that exists. And more importantly, all the trimming's different too. Like for instance, the buttons don't use the traditional PlayStation symbol button colors. Instead, it just uses an off blue that kind of matches with everything. And then on both the system and the controller itself, we have that beautiful copper trim places just for all the lettering and stuff, which goes really well with the blue color. Now, of course, the other thing about this system is, like I said, it is very limited. And one of the ways they show that is that there's actually a bar right here on the bottom of the front of the system, which shows which specific unit production number this is out of 50,000. Now, 50,000 might to some of you not sound like actually that limited, but when you consider worldwide and how many systems there are, that is a very small number. There have been systems that are more rare than that, but it's usually because they're weird one-off situations like a giveaway, a tie-in with some game where only 10 are made and it's a contest. For something that actually went to retail and for a store, 50,000 is a very small number. Now, while the system itself is super limited, they have made some accessories in the style still available with separately sold products that are a little easier to get. You can get the DualShock by itself as well, and they've also made a separate gold headset that doesn't come with this at all normally, that is in the same style. So it has that same dark blue and all the leather kind of cloth bits, but it also has that transparent blue on the ear cups themselves. Something that's really interesting too about this bundle that I didn't know until I knew we got one and I started researching stuff to talk about when we opened it up, and this isn't actually the first time Sony has done a bundle like this. It is the first time it's come to the US, but before with the PS2, they actually did another limited run only in Japan of what they called the 50 million PS2s, and that was to celebrate the PS2 specifically selling 50 million units worldwide. And unlike this one, which is just the single, really hard to get one, they actually had 3 different colors made available, which were a metallic silver, sakura pink, and aqua blue. And I'm not actually sure how limited those editions were outside of being only in Japan. The only data I can find is that, well, they exist and are pretty tough to track down these days. And you know, seeing the system in the translucent color and just how good it looks, it really makes me wonder why gaming companies haven't really experimented with this design as much lately, at least for systems. We've seen them in controllers and stuff, but this is something that's been experimented a lot with different systems in the past, but hasn't been used lately at all. I mean, Microsoft did it with the original Xboxes. You can get those in a transparent green. I think they also did a clear one. Nintendo, of course, famously had all the different handhelds, as well as the N64s and the Fantastics.
They're fantastic. Check out the eruption of color with the new N64 Fantastic series of consoles.
And Sony's even messed with it a little bit with the PS2. They had a clear blue one, but it's not something we've seen in any of the recent generations. And that's really shocking to me, because I feel like now is the best time to do designs like that, because there are so many more intricate, interesting things going on the inside that you can kind of just get a little glance at. Now, another thing with this system being transparent that I'm really curious about is how much the power lights on the system are going to affect how it looks. So let's go ahead and start it up and see what happens. Oh, that's actually really cool. Honestly, this all just comes together really beautifully, and I know I've been a little harsh in the past about a lot of PS4 special editions. Not that I haven't liked any of them, I just think they're usually good but could be better. This is the best one. Like, just without a doubt in my mind, as far as special edition PS4s go right now, and I don't want to just be like, oh, it's so limited, it must be great. No, like, this actually is a really beautiful system, and it really makes me wish that Sony experimented a little bit more with this kind of color scheme. You know, I really dig the transparent look, and I hope it's something that doesn't stay unique to this bundle.